treats its citizens. So we had a part one, and then we came back with a part two called The Method to the Madness. And so we thought we were done, but see, we uncovered some new information or whatever that just, we had to come back with a part three. So that's why we're here right now. We're going to go ahead and get into it. And now, here's the man with the key to unchain and enslaved mind, your freedom fighter and mine. I kind of messed up that introduction, but it's okay. OGB.
You are excused. But anyway, for those who fail to remember, I am still Bobby G. Stewart, but you will henceforth address me as the OGB. Well, anyway, as our DJ had said, there was a few weeks ago that I had spoke about how the rich and the powerful of this country, who really, to be honest, you could say who really represents America, because of course we all could say that as citizens we are America, but really the team is the individuals who run the company, the country. Now, not only does it purposely disenfranchise a certain segment of its citizenry, but as I had told you, that they actively undermine the development of society as a whole. Now, in today's talk, I will try to give you the A to Z of how not only a certain segment, say, for example, the poor and whatever minorities are negatively affected by the activities of the super wealthy and powerful, but how every single person in this country is affected in the worst way possible, regardless of age, gender, race, religion, or class, be it middle or lower class. Now, the average person might think that the problems of this country solely exist because of street crime. Well, I'm here to show you that it's not just the street criminals who are doing damage to our country, but how the super wealthy and the powerful do damage in a more carefully crafted and unseen fashion. And as unbelievable as it might sound to those in the listening audience, what they do is they conspire to kill the economy that holds the key to advancement for the everyday person.
So how do they achieve this then?
Well, right off the bat, in the overall, what they do is that they marshal all of their financial, legal, and political resources that neither people like me nor you have access to. Now, the first thing that they do from a political standpoint, their money and their power has a major influence on how the laws are created, not for our benefit, but for theirs. So what they do is they influence and sometimes corrupt politicians with such things as campaign contributions, illegal kickback schemes, which are constantly orchestrated under the table that prevent any fairness for others on top of the table to benefit from. So, in short, their aim is to keep the playing field from being level. Next, they're involved in business practices that are done in a very haphazardly way without regard to the far-reaching and devastating effects that all of us are bound to suffer from in one way or another. Now, the best example of this was the irresponsible and unethical activities that caused for the now infamous 2008 recession.
So then, for all of us who don't know, go ahead and tell us what happened.
Well, the summary of that and the net effect of it was that, if those who out there in the listening audience can remember, is that not only were the poor affected, but the middle class was hit hard just as well when they lost their jobs and subsequently losing their homes because, of course, when you don't have a job, you can't pay the mortgage. Next, they lost their retirement savings, some of them, because corporate CEOs were basically taking people's 401k plans and other money invested on Wall Street. And what they were doing, they were using it like monopoly money in a rigged system that made for everyone else to come out on the losing end but them. And then, in an ironic twist, they had the nerve to turn to the very entity that they despised the most to cover for their irresponsibility.
Who did?
Well, not who did, but who is it that they turned to? And who they turned to was the government. And it's interesting, and on top of that, appalling that these same charlatans, most of whom are Republican, wanted the government to bail them out with what amounts to billions in handouts that the taxpayer eventually foots the bill for. However, when someone has to, as they say, go on the dole and receive food stamps out of necessity, they are called lazy and irresponsible. So therefore, as you can see, wealthy people are nothing but a bunch of despicable, lousy hypocrites.
So, yeah, I do agree with that. So, what are some of their other tricks that they use that people don't know about?
Well, the next thing that is done, that in order to retain as much money in their pockets as possible, they seek to avoid paying taxes. Now, I want people to understand something. Avoiding to pay taxes is not illegal. Evading or tax evasion, now that is illegal.
So how exactly does someone evade their taxes?
Well, in the quick legal, when you don't file, when you don't file your tax returns, and or you lie pretty much on your tax returns, whatever income that you've made. But according to the issue that I had said about some of the tricks, that they employ to retain their money, is that they hide their money with the help of very skillful accountants. They hide their money in such things as offshore tax shelters, or not tax shelters, but bank accounts, or secret bank accounts, like in Switzerland, for example. And when you put your money in an offshore account, it's not subject to any type of tax laws here. Now, that money could be used here in this country for necessary tax revenue, but instead it's in some other country's bank.
Wow, so that is very interesting. So exactly how does that affect us here then when people put their money in offshore accounts?
Well, it's very detailed, but it still can be understood by everyone. Now, when very wealthy companies that are run by CEOs and individuals that don't pay their necessary share in taxes, what happens is that there's a domino effect that happens in numerous directions. Because first of all, taxes are needed to be collected by local and state governments to, for example, help to keep up the country's infrastructure.
Okay, and so for someone who doesn't know what someone who doesn't know what infrastructure is, that's basically the upkeep of our highways and our bridges, the electrical system that keeps everyone's lights on. So that's what the infrastructure is. It helps to keep America running.
Right. And now, with regards to these taxes being helping to fund, the upkeep of the roads and bridges, what that does, it makes for employment in high-paying construction jobs that help stimulate the local economy. Now, when the roads and bridges, for example, don't receive timely attention, they represent an all too familiar problem for motorists.
Right. So those problems for motorists, of course, would be, if the roads aren't together and there's potholes in the road or whatever.
Correct.
And you're driving over those potholes on a consistent basis, that causes for example, your tires to get messed up, your shock absorbers, on your car to get messed up. Therefore, that makes for you to have to spend more money
that usually people don't have.
Right, to get your car fixed because of the road situation.
Also, the insurance premiums go up. Now, the auto insurance industry, which is run by super wealthy CEOs, they are well aware of this. And as a whole, the auto insurance industry, for example, it takes in hundreds of millions of dollars annually. Now, in conjunction with that, it doesn't really matter what kind of insurance exists. The whole insurance game is set up like the casinos. You spend a lot, they give a little back as possible. Now, to go a little bit further on the tax revenue situation that the rich and wealthy need to contribute to, is that tax revenue can help to fund educational programs that results in our students being smarter, and they have the necessary resources for intellectual and academic development.
So what is the negative effect?
Well, what the negative effect is that our children fall behind other countries' children because our children are not properly prepared to meet certain challenges that an ever-changing world requires. See, our country needs more and better learned math and science students that will help this country stay in step technologically.
So I know I asked this question earlier, but I want to reiterate or re-ask, do they have any other dirty tricks up their sleeves that we don't know about?
See, I'm going to tell you something. The rich, the super rich and the wealthy, they opt in a very fiendish capacity. And the reason why is because they are the masters in the art of deception. Now, for example, one of the other problems that the wealthy corporations and individuals create is when they purposely manipulate stock prices for short-term profits instead of putting that money towards such things as worker retraining programs. And again, a better trained workforce that can earn higher wages is a more productive workforce, which in turn ensures better products that is a boost to the local and our overall economy. So rather than ensuring that regular people benefit from that type of scenario, what they do is that they would rather exploit prison labor for profit. And of course, as I've said all along, this activity purposely undermines economic growth for people to enjoy a higher standard of living. So in my estimation, only evil people behave like this.
Yeah, I do agree. So what happens as a result of that then?
Well, as a result of all of this, the net effect is a combination of chronic unemployment and a surplus of low wage, unskilled part-time jobs that help to create a permanent underclass. See, what they want is they want for these conditions to exist on the consistent basis, which is the breeding grounds for social unrest, which in turn leads to situations that are ripe for crime to exist so that they can profit from in that prison labor for profit situation. And so, like I said the last time that we had discussed this situation, this is a conspired effort to keep the unemployment rate at the highest for certain segments of its citizenry, thereby ensuring the gap between the wealthy and the poor that gets wider and wider, which in turn leads to problems in other areas of the society.
Like,
for example, this is like a rolling stone that gathers a lot of moss. See, the cumulative effect of the psychological and emotional toll of not being able to make a better life for yourself because of situations caused by these individuals that are very powerful and wealthy can result in people turning to numerous escapist activities that bring society down in numerous ways.
True.
Okay. And for example, when we talk about escapist activities, what I mean by that is being involved in activities that people use other methods to escape the pain of, like I say, not being able to make a better life for yourself. One of the first ways that this is done is that there's an increase in illegal activities such as drug selling, drug usage, and prostitution. Next, there's an increased involvement in alcoholism, gambling, and harmful sexual activity that is the basis for such things as unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases. Therefore, I would like to postulate that all of these circumstances, all of the things that I spoke of, the lost retirement savings, the fee-ridden rigged investment schemes, the homelessness, the proliferation of low-wage, unskilled jobs, underfunded educational opportunities, illicit behavior and activities, all of these things can be directly attributed to the wealthy and powerful doing all that it can to keep that barrier between them and everyone else firmly established. So in the short of it, they really don't care about the damage that their activities cause. So what they are only concerned about is accumulating as much wealth off the backs of everyone else as much as possible. So therefore, as I had said earlier, it's not just the criminals on the street that you have to worry about, but it's the criminals on Wall Street that create more problems than you could ever imagine. So there it is right there. And anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to ask you a quick question. So with all of this information that, you have provided to the people about how Wall Street, does operate.
Well, not just Wall Street, but the major corporations in conjunction with the politicians in Washington, D.C.
So what can someone do then to avoid being used by the system, if there's anything that someone could do?
Well, one of the main things that I would like to suggest is that, now recall there was a demonstration, I think that was earlier this year, wasn't it? The 99 percenters, they had occupied Wall Street. Wasn't it something like that earlier this year?
I believe
last
so.
year?
No, I believe it was this year.
Okay. Well, stage protests like that will bring light to that problem. Now, that's one of the topical, effects of trying to address the situation. Now, of course, this situation, it takes a lot on the part of those that have a lot of power and authority. And as we all know, in this country, money rules, so if the people aren't willing to marshal their resources financially, politically, to offset these destructive activities that corporations and very powerful individuals are involved in, then it's almost like we're at the mercy of whatever their shenanigans brings about. So I guess personally, the best you can do personally is to save your money, reduce your extravagant lifestyle, and only spend money in the most wise way possible. Now, of course, people, they will have the desire to involve themselves in leisure time activities, because we all need to do that, because all work and no fun makes for a dull life. We don't want to promote that. So if nothing else, if you can't fight them, definitely don't join them. So like I say, try to reduce your consumption, your unnecessary and extravagant consumption. And like I say, save your money, spend your money wisely. And I think from there, everything else will start to take care of itself.
Yes, that is very, very great advice. Because when you think about it, a lot of people and a lot of us, and I've been guilty of, is to spend money that doesn't necessarily need to be spent. We go out and get these things that we want that's not necessarily needed, when we could be saving up money, we can not be a part of this America consumerism mindset, where we can get rid of that mindset and think about ourselves in the future as far as saving money, so that when situations do come up that put us in a bind, or when the government I guess
shuts down,
when the government shuts down, or you can have that extra money saved and put to the side to where you and your family can survive. So that was really good advice. So I hope you all were listening to that. Because you could take a lot from that. It'll save you a lot of stress. Just put it that way. So, like I was saying, or like we always say at the end of our show, if there was anything that was said that you may not believe or
want to have pick a bone about,
right, then we always promote to do your own research. There was a documentary, I don't remember the name of it, but it was on just last week on I think it was the History Channel.
No,
that you were watching.
No, that was PBS.
Oh, PBS. What was the name of it?
Oh boy, that's a good one. It had something to do with how people, the middle class, basically was affected with regards to their savings being affected by the shenanigans on Wall Street. And like I had said earlier, they involved themselves in basically what amounts to a shell game. So like I say, as a matter of fact, with regards to this current topic that I spoke of today, I would like for our listeners to try to tune in to a follow-up topic onto this. So I guess if nothing else, it'll be a part 4, in that I will also go into deeper detail about how the very super wealthy corporations and individuals, how they not only conspire to wreck this economy domestically, but how they wreck other countries' economy, worldwide. And that's that's because of their pursuit and the acquisition of those countries' mineral resources that would result in a lot of mass profits for these wealthy companies. So if nothing else, I would like for you all to check in with us next Tuesday. And if it is possible, I'll have that information ready for you. So with that being said, let's get back to the music, my esteemed DJ, and do this.
All right. When we get there, we just want to remind you